I always thought moving to the city would be the start of something better. A fresh start, new people, a new job, and a new apartment where I could finally stop feeling stuck. Rent was expensive, of course, and I couldn't afford a place on my own. That's why I started searching for a roommate. At first, it was the usual struggle: ads that looked too good to be true, places that smelled like mold, or people who gave me that weird vibe you just know you can't live with. I was starting to feel hopeless when I came across an ad that sounded normal. A young woman, mid-20s, looking for a roommate to split rent on a two-bedroom apartment. The photos looked clean, the price wasn't cheap, but not outrageous either. Her name was Lena. When I met her, she seemed quiet, polite, almost shy. She was tall, with long black hair that always looked slightly damp, like she'd just stepped out of a shower. Her voice was soft, and she never quite looked me in the eye for more than a few seconds. But she seemed nice enough, and honestly, after weeks of looking, I was just relieved someone normal was offering me a room. I signed the lease within the week. That was the beginning. I didn't know, back then, what kind of nightmare I was walking into. The first few days felt fine. She mostly stayed in her room, and when we crossed paths in the kitchen or hallway, she would smile politely, sometimes mumble a hey. I figured she was just private, maybe a little socially awkward, no big deal. But small things stood out, like how she always kept her bedroom door locked. Even when she just stepped out to use the bathroom or grab water, I'd hear the click of the lock behind her. At first, I thought maybe she had valuable stuff, electronics, jewelry, whatever. Still, it felt strange, especially in your own home. Then there were the nights. I'd hear her moving around at odd hours, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., her footsteps pacing across her floor, slow and steady, over and over. Sometimes it sounded like she was dragging something heavy across the wood. The first night it woke me, I thought maybe she was rearranging furniture, but when it happened again and again, I realized it was something else. Once I went to get water at around 3 in the morning. As I passed her door, I heard whispering. Not the muffled sound of a phone call or TV, more like a low, steady chant, words I couldn't quite make out. My skin prickled as I froze in the hallway, straining to hear. Then the sound stopped, and after a long silence, the faint creak of her bed. About a week in, I was cooking dinner when she suddenly appeared behind me. I didn't hear her come out of her room. One second I was stirring pasta, the next she was standing at the edge of the kitchen, watching me. "You shouldn't leave knives out," she said softly. I glanced down. A kitchen knife rested on the counter where I'd been chopping vegetables. "Oh, yeah," I laughed awkwardly. "Don't worry, I'll clean it up." But she didn't move. She just kept staring, her expression blank. Then, after what felt like too long, she nodded and turned back to her room. I listened for the click of her lock. One afternoon, when she wasn't home, I noticed something strange. I was grabbing a broom from the hallway closet when I saw a small notebook wedged behind the cleaning supplies. At first, I thought it was mine, but when I picked it up, the handwriting inside was nothing like mine. It was Lena's. The pages were filled with short entries, written in jagged, hurried script. Most of it didn't make sense, strings of words repeated over and over, like "don't trust them," "keep the door locked," "watch at night." But one entry froze me. "She doesn't know yet. I can't let her see. Not until it's time." I dropped the notebook back where I found it, heart pounding. Was she writing about me? About someone else? I wanted to confront her, but something deep in my gut told me not to. That night, I heard her pacing again. This time, the floorboards creaked right outside my door. That night, I dreamed of her standing over my bed, holding that same knife. I didn't sleep much that night. It was late, maybe past midnight, when I woke to the sound of water running. At first, I thought Lena was just showering, but the water kept going and going. I checked the clock. Nearly an hour had passed. Finally, I got up and knocked on the bathroom door. "Lena, you okay in there?" No answer. The water kept running. I knocked louder. "Lena?" After a long pause, the water shut off. I heard the sound of bare feet on tile, then nothing. No reply. The silence stretched until, slowly, the door handle turned. The door creaked open just a crack. The light inside was dim, but I could see her face peeking through the gap. Her hair was plastered to her skin, dripping wet. Her eyes were wide, unblinking, staring right at me. "I was cleansing," she whispered. Then she shut the door. I didn't ask again. One afternoon, when she wasn't home, I noticed something strange. I was grabbing a broom from the hallway closet when I saw a small notebook wedged behind the cleaning supplies. At first, I thought it was mine, but when I picked it up, the handwriting inside was nothing like mine. It was Lena's. The pages were filled with short entries, written in jagged, hurried script. Most of it didn't make sense, strings of words repeated over and over, like "don't trust them, keep the door locked, watch at night." But one entry froze me. "She doesn't know yet. I can't let her see, not until it's time." I dropped the notebook back where I found it, heart pounding. Was she writing about me? About someone else? I wanted to confront her, but something deep in my gut told me not to. That night, I heard her pacing again. This time, the floorboards creaked right outside my door. That night, I dreamed of her standing over my bed, holding that same knife. I didn't sleep much that night. It was late, maybe past midnight, when I woke to the sound of water running. At first, I thought Lena was just showering, but the water kept going and going. I checked the clock. Nearly an hour had passed. Finally, I got up and knocked on the bathroom door. "Lena, you okay in there?" No answer. The water kept running. I knocked louder. "Lena?" After a long pause, the water shut off. I heard the sound of bare feet on tile, then nothing. No reply. The silence stretched until, slowly, the door handle turned. The door creaked open just a crack. The light inside was dim, but I could see her face peeking through the gap. Her hair was plastered to her skin, dripping wet. Her eyes were wide, unblinking, staring right at me. "I was cleansing," she whispered. Then she shut the door. I didn't ask again.
Days blurred together. I tried to avoid her, going straight to my room after work, keeping headphones in. But it didn't help. Sometimes I'd wake up to the feeling of being watched, only to find her door cracked open, her silhouette visible in the dark hallway. Other times I'd hear her humming, low and tuneless, right outside my room. The whispers grew louder. No longer muffled, they sounded like full conversations, though I only ever heard her voice. I thought I caught words like sacrifice and replace. I started locking my own door at night. One evening, I came home to find something taped to my door. A Polaroid photo. It was of me, sleeping in my bed. My stomach dropped as I tore it down, scanning the hallway. Her door was shut, locked as always. I didn't confront her. I didn't even want to. Instead, I shoved the photo in my drawer and tried to pretend it didn't exist. But that night, I couldn't stop picturing it. How close she must have been. How long she might have stood there, watching. I thought about leaving. I even started browsing new listings online. But money was tight, and moving again so soon felt impossible. Besides, a small part of me kept trying to rationalize it. Maybe she was just weird. Maybe she didn't mean harm. Then came the night I woke to the sound of my doorknob turning. Slow, deliberate, testing. I held my breath, frozen, as the lock held firm. After a long pause, footsteps retreated down the hall. I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, I found another Polaroid taped to my door. This one showed me wide-eyed in bed, clutching the blankets. Last night was the worst yet. The whispers turned into chanting, loud, rhythmic, almost frantic. I pressed my ear to the wall, heart racing, and realized it wasn't just one voice anymore. It was many. But Lena lived alone. The chanting built until I thought my head would split. Then it stopped. I dared to peek into the hallway. Her door was wide open for the first time. The room beyond glowed with candlelight. Strange symbols were drawn all over the walls in black marker, looping and jagged. At the center of the room, Lena knelt on the floor, her hair hanging in wet strands, her lips moving silently. On the floor in front of her was another Polaroid. Of me. I don't know what to do anymore. I can't sleep. I can't think. I'm writing this with my door locked, every light in my room turned on. She hasn't come out since last night. I hear her in there, muttering, pacing, sometimes scratching at the walls. And just now, I noticed something new. There's a Polaroid taped to the inside of my door. I didn't put it there. It's of me, sitting here at my desk, writing this. I sat frozen, staring at the Polaroid taped to the inside of my door. My own reflection. Me, hunched at my desk, writing only moments ago. The photo hadn't been there when I sat down, which meant someone, she, had been in my room. I felt my throat tighten as I tore it down. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped it. The angle of the photo made my stomach lurch. It had been taken from just over my shoulder, as if someone had stood right behind me. I checked the door again, still locked. My window, too, shut tight. But she'd been here. I didn't sleep at all. I sat awake, clutching the photo until dawn. The next morning, I dragged myself out of bed, hollow-eyed and trembling. I had a job interview downtown, something I'd been preparing for weeks, but I could barely think straight. Lena was in the kitchen when I came out, humming softly as she stirred a bowl of something pale and thick. She turned when she heard me, her hair wet again, dripping onto the floor. "You didn't sleep?" she said, though it wasn't a question. I forced a laugh. "Yeah, big day today." Her lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Don't leave." The words hit me like ice water. "What?" "Don't leave today," she repeated. Her tone was soft, almost pleading. "It's not safe." I grabbed my bag without answering. I couldn't stay in that apartment 1 second longer. At the interview, I barely heard a word. My head spun with Lena's face, her voice, the Polaroids. By the time I stumbled out into the sunlight, I knew I had to get out. That night, I started looking for sublets, for any place I could crash. Money didn't matter anymore. I just needed to be gone. But when I opened my laptop, I froze. The wallpaper had changed. Instead of the default background, the screen now showed a photo of me, asleep again, mouth slightly open, blanket pulled to my chin. And at the edge of the photo, just barely in frame, a pale hand resting on the blanket near my shoulder. I slammed the laptop shut and shoved it away, my chest heaving. The next day, I came home to find the chain lock on the inside of the apartment door fastened shut. From the outside, I had no idea how she'd done it, but I stood in the hallway with my key in hand, unable to get in. I knocked softly. "Lena, can you open the door?" For a long moment, nothing. Then the sound of the chain sliding free. The door cracked open just an inch. Her eyes stared through the gap. "You tried to leave," she whispered. The door slammed shut again, and this time when she opened it, she was smiling. Dinner's ready. The table was set for 2. Candles flickered, casting long shadows across the walls. A bowl of stew steamed in front of my chair, the smell sharp and metallic. I sat stiffly, pretending to eat, while Lena watched. She didn't touch her own bowl. She just stared at me, eyes unblinking, hands folded neatly on the table. Finally, I pushed the food away. "I'm not hungry." Her smile widened. "That's okay. You will be later." I excused myself as calmly as I could, retreating to my room, locking the door. My hands shook so badly I could barely turn the key. That night, I woke to the sound of footsteps circling my bed. I don't know how long I lay there, paralyzed, listening to the slow scrape of footsteps. My door was locked, wasn't it? I reached out in the dark, fingers brushing the knob. Still locked. But the footsteps continued, around and around. Then a whisper, right by my ear. "I can wait." I bolted upright, fumbling for the lamp. Light flooded the room. Empty. My door still locked. My chest heaved as I backed against the wall, clutching the blankets like a shield. On my desk, another Polaroid waited. This one showed me curled in bed, clutching those same blankets, taken from the foot of the bed. The next morning, something in me snapped. I couldn't live like this another night. I stormed to her door and pounded hard. "Lena, we need to talk." Silence. I grabbed the knob, locked of course. But I heard movement inside, her breathing shallow and quick. "Open the door." My voice cracked. "I know you've been in my room. I know about the photos. This has to stop or I'm leaving." For a long time, nothing. Then a soft laugh. "You can't leave," she said. "You're part of it now." I waited until she left that evening. I don't know where she went. She rarely went out. But as soon as the front door shut, I grabbed a screwdriver and forced her lock. The door creaked open to reveal a nightmare. Candles lined every surface, melted wax pooled like veins across the wood. The walls were covered in symbols, jagged black marks that made my eyes ache. Dozens of Polaroids hung from strings across the ceiling, fluttering like ghosts. Every single one was of me, sleeping, eating, showering, changing. In the center of the floor lay a circle drawn in salt, a knife placed neatly at its heart, and beside it an open notebook. I picked it up, flipping through frantic pages of scrawled writing. The words blurred together, but one phrase repeated again and again. "She is the vessel. She is the offering." The front door slammed. I froze, the notebook still in my hands. Footsteps hurried down the hall. Lena appeared in the doorway, her face twisted with something between rage and ecstasy. "You weren't supposed to see this yet." I stumbled back, dropping the notebook. "What is this? What the hell is wrong with you?" She stepped into the room, knife glinting in her hand. Her voice was calm, almost soothing. "It's okay. It'll all be over soon." I bolted. I sprinted down the hall, Lena's footsteps pounding behind me. I yanked the front door open, fumbling with the chain she'd fastened again, my fingers slick with sweat. She was so close, I could hear her breath, feel her presence. Somehow I got the chain free and stumbled into the hallway. I slammed the door shut behind me and ran, barefoot, down the stairs and out into the night. I didn't stop until I reached the street, gasping under the streetlights, tears streaming down my face. I never went back. I left everything, clothes, laptop, even my wallet. I stayed with a friend, then found a new place across town. I filed a report, of course. The police went to the apartment, but by then Lena was gone. The room had been scrubbed clean, no photos, no symbols, no candles, like she'd never been there. They looked at me like I was crazy. Maybe I was. But sometimes, late at night, I wake with the feeling of being watched. And once, not long ago, I found a Polaroid slipped under my door. It was of me, asleep. The end.